Hey there, I'm your host Des, and you are listening to The Wellness Project with Des, episode number 188. I hope that you've been doing okay these past 2 weeks and taking care of yourself. It's been a little rough, to say the least, so I hope you are doing well. On today's episode, I am speaking with Emily Hawkins. This episode is really interesting because it is for people that have worked in a toxic work environment, but also for the leaders, the bosses, the supervisors, the managers in these higher up positions. So, Emily talks about what makes a work environment toxic and what makes it healthy, but also she comes at it from a perspective of a leader. And she admits that she used to be a toxic boss. She discusses with us what it took to realize that she was the toxic one, creating a toxic work environment, and the steps that she took to change and to shift her management style, her leadership. I'm sure that anyone listening to this podcast right now has experienced a toxic work environment. I've been at 3 that really stand out to me the most that just really negatively impacted my mental health. Which, if you are interested, I talk about one a little more during this episode, during my conversation with Emily. So, whether you have worked in a toxic work environment and been negatively impacted by that, or if you are a leader, this conversation is going to be really great, very, very informative. I just love the perspective that Emily is coming from and her vulnerability sharing that she was a toxic boss. This is a great conversation. I can't wait for you to hear it. Help me welcome Emily. Emily, thank you so much for being here.
I am so excited to talk with you.
Me too. I've been really looking forward to talking with you because we're talking all about workplace, like healthy work environment. And I'm so looking forward to this because a lot of my past guests, I regularly have people on talking about burnout and toxic work environments. So
Mhm.
this is going to be a great conversation. So before we get into all of that, I would love if you could take a moment to introduce yourself, share your story, how you got to where you are today.
Sure, sure. My name is Emily Hawkins, and I spent 15 years in the corporate world. I thought I was going to stay in the corporate world forever. I never planned on leaving, but I started managing people, and I was horrible at it. Absolutely horrible. I could have had a revolving door in my office. I went through people like water. As a wonderful manager that I thought it was everyone else that was the problem. And so I started reading books. I read 26 of them because I'm a slow learner. All of them, spoiler alert, is basically you are the problem, but really a book doesn't say you are the problem. It actually says you are the power of change and, like you control your destiny. But I didn't want to hear that. I wanted a book to tell me that everyone else was the problem and how to fix them. One day, I ran into my office, closed the door just in a fit of disgust, and opened up a Word document, blank Word document. And I was like, you know what? I am going to write the dream employee. I'm going to write exactly what this person looks like. I have not seen them, but I will. And so I'm going to write it all out. So I started writing, they will never, blah, blah, blah. They'll never be late. They won't, da, 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 da. I got like 3 don't, won't sentences in. And I was like, well, this is actually not a dream. This is what I don't want. So if I'm really going to do this, I need to write clearly what it is I do want. So I deleted everything out and I was like, oh, this is going to be harder than I thought. And then it just started pouring out of me of like conversations we would have, what kind of work we would do, how exciting it would be to, feed off of each other, things they would share with me. There aren't enough hours in the day. I love what I'm doing. This new project is so exciting, just all these things. So I wrote, it ended up being 2 pages of what I felt like a dream employee would be. And I was so excited for about 2.5 seconds because very clearly those 26 books that I'd been reading over the course of this year when all of this was occurring kicked in, delayed reaction. And I realized if these people showed up for me, I wasn't the right person to lead them. And that's when everything changed for me. That's when I realized I have to stop doing things the way that I've seen them done. I was emulating other leaders that I'd seen in the past or had learned from in the past. And I knew in my gut that it wasn't authentically who I was and how I wanted to lead. At that point, that was, like I said, when I changed everything. I fired someone, I put somebody else on a performance plan, improvement plan. My rock star on my team quit. Don't blame her at all. And then three amazing dream employees that I had written in this document showed up. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And so I decided, even knowing we were only bringing on three new people, that I was going to onboard the entire team. So I was going to pretend like it was day one and nobody had ever worked here before. I changed everything. I decided exactly how I wanted to lay all this out. It was actually a lot simpler. It was really seeing people, is what it was. It was really saying, if I was a new employee, how would I want to be treated? What would I want to know? What kind of support would I need? And within 90 days of that onboarding, we became the most productive team in the company. And other people were coming to me and asking me how I was doing these things. My very team said I should become a life coach. I have two business degrees. I said that was woo woo made up, not a real degree, which is hilarious because I did actually follow through and become a life coach. But it was really sort of like the icing on the cake because I had spent 15 years in the corporate world streamlining processes and people for productive results. But that people part with that extra layer of the life coaching just sealed the deal for me. I got bored. Everything was working, everything was just blowing up. And the people that were telling me I should become a life coach, I thought, what if I can help 100 people outside of these walls? That felt really big to me. And so in 2017, I left my cushy corporate job and I opened my own business and I was featured in Forbes in 2020 for my work. I've coached over 2,500 people in businesses and I realized I was dreaming small. And everything that I teach is exactly what happened that day when everything changed for me. The simplicity of it all shocks my clients. And I want to teach some of it today because I think it would be fun. We were talking about workplace toxicity. And as somebody who is a former toxicity giver, dealer, I don't know how we say this exactly. I want to share where you may feel that you are, what kind of environment you're in, or if you're a leader yourself, what kind of environment you're creating and you might not be realizing it. And then the type of environment where people will thrive. And like I said, it's actually a lot simpler than we think.
Yeah, that would all be amazing. I think that would be incredibly helpful. And just also thinking about moving into the new year, that's a time where a lot of people reevaluate the situation that they're in, their careers, what they want for their career. I think this would be really helpful to help people evaluate that and what they want going forward. And I think sometimes in toxic jobs, because some toxic bosses want so much and have such unrealistic expectations, there's so much pressure. I think some employees don't realize that it's the environment. Like I
Mhm.
work with a lot of clients on burnout, and sometimes I point out to my clients like, "Oh, that sounds like it's the work environment, not you not doing a good job or doing enough," right? I
Mhm.
work with a lot of people who work over their hours, work through their lunch breaks, and they just feel like they're not doing a good job, they're not doing enough, they're not being productive enough. And I'm like, wait, this all doesn't even sound possible for your one position. So I think sometimes people don't even realize that they're in a toxic work environment. They take it on
Mhm.
as there's something deficient about them. They're not good enough.
Mhm.
They get this imposter syndrome. Well, if I was better, if I was quicker, if I was a better learner, if I was more productive. And so I think sometimes people don't even realize. So that would be great if you could go over all of that.
What you're talking about is incredibly real. And I actually think that the first 90 days is the only time that a toxic environment doesn't really hurt you as much because you're just dipping your toe in. And so I believe that the people that start at companies the first 90 days are the smartest people in an organization because they actually see it more objectively than anyone else. Because after that time, you do start questioning yourself. Well, maybe I'm really just not as detail oriented as I thought. Maybe I just didn't hear that he wanted these extra pieces. Maybe I'm like, you start questioning yourself. And I believe that that is, I call it self cannibalizing because you're not in your zone of genius, putting out the beautiful work that you do for a lot of different reasons. And so naturally, you start to take it on yourself and it just eats at you. And the longer you're in that type of environment, the darker it becomes. And some people, like if they're there for years, they truly think that something is like mentally wrong with them. And it's really just the environment that they're a part of.
So I've had a few toxic work environments, but one of the worst ones, I work with kids. I work in the school system. I worked in community mental health with children. Well, I love working with kids, and not to toot my own horn, but I'm great with working with kids. Like that's my specialty. Kids always love me. I love them. We always formulate really great relationships. And I worked at this elementary school when I moved to Colorado. They hired me partway through the year. We moved in November. Nobody really hires during the holidays, especially schools, because they have all the breaks and everything. So I started in February. From February to June, my mental health deteriorated so much. I questioned everything. It felt like everything I did was wrong. It didn't matter if I de escalated a kid, I didn't do it in the right way. If I gave a kid a coloring page, that was wrong. Like it just, every single thing I did was wrong. I had a good idea. My supervisor took it as their idea and presented it as their idea. So I wasn't getting credit. I was observing a kid. I got reprimanded for not writing notes. My coworker looked at me. Someone on my team was like, why aren't you taking notes? And the kid was just sitting there. And I was like, there's nothing to write about. Like they're just sitting. I wrote that they were sitting. I don't know what, it just didn't matter what I did. It was
Mm-hmm.
wrong. And so I got super depressed. I was questioning like what is wrong with me? Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing a good job. It was just such a toxic environment. I barely made it until June. Like
Mm-hmm.
even my partner Mark, he was like, you have to leave this job. You have to just quit. In just a few months, it left such a deep impact on me.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And there's actually, for anyone who's listening who's like, am I in a toxic work environment? I don't know what that is. I want to give you the four key ways that you can know this. And I love an acronym. It's like my favorite thing because it's easy to remember. If you're in a toxic work environment, I call it mean, MEAN, mean place to work, right? So the M stands for micromanaging. So if you are in a place where your boss is always the bottleneck because they have to check every single thing you do. I worked in an environment where I could not get on the phone with a client unless my boss was in the room. It was rough. They check in multiple times a day, making sure you're getting things done. They just have to be a part of everything. And there's no new ideas because you can't share a new idea because they'll micromanage it to death and then take all the creativity out of it. So it's really, really sad. The next one, which is E, is egotistical. This one is very dangerous. So the rules apply to everyone but the leader or the golden child or the whoever. Name the person in the office. There's somebody that for some reason the rules don't apply to. They're different. Oh, it's okay that Carol's late. It's fine, but you need to be here on time. Wait, what? I'm going to take vacation. I will not, I am to not be disturbed on vacation. But when you go on vacation, I'm going to text you probably 3 times a day because I'm going to need things from you. So that's being egotistical, thinking you can do a better job at a task than your employees. I can tell you right now that I have 3 different people on my team that far surpass my abilities in their areas. And I want it that way. I have to have it that way. Now, could I do some of the things that they do? Yes. But as a leader, I can't do them well because I'm trying to manage and orchestrate the whole thing. If you find yourself saying, as a leader, oh, I could do that better, how do you think that makes your employees feel? They feel that. If I ever knew that a boss felt that way, I would back to the, gosh, I thought I was really good at this. Gosh, I felt like I was really doing a great job. You're really eating away at the self confidence on the team. Another one is that everyone works around the clock. because that's what you expect. So you have a family, not here, not here. You know, you need to wear them in your backpack or something because you're never going to see them. That's misplaced passion. I think that some people think that if you skip meals and you work 100 hours, that somehow you're passionate. When I believe if you work 30, 40 hours and you do amazing work, that's passionate. That's beautiful because you are doing what's truly called for and you're doing it in a healthy place. So the next one is assume. So the A is assume. Assumption is the death of more souls than I've ever seen in my whole life. We as human beings are horrible at assuming. I mean, absolutely horrible at this. So not only do all of us do it, but around 86% of the time, we are incorrect. So 86% of the time that you are thinking something about someone, you are wrong. That's real big. You got 14% chance of being right. I don't know about you, but a 14% chance is like pretty terrible. And here's the thing is that most of us assume the wrong way. Most of us assume, oh, she was late. Oh, I bet it's because she's lazy. She's not dedicated to this job, or they didn't turn that report in on time because they're mad at me. They're just holding that report back because I got onto them last week and now they're trying to like show me up or something. No, none of that is real. None of that is actually occurring. And I believe that when we start running away with these narratives that we have in our head, it gets very, very dangerous. And as a boss, assuming these bad things, and of course, as a subordinate, feeling that, oh, well, if I do this, my boss is going to think XYZ. Well, that's terrible. I feel like we should have open communication so nobody's thinking anything. We're actually just speaking to one another. And then you actually alluded to N. You already mentioned this nitpick. Getting nitpicked to death. I mean, taking notes about a child that is sitting there, come on, like that's ridiculous. And I don't know about you. I have definitely been in a job like that, though, where I swear to you, it did not matter what I did, something was going to get turned around. The same boss I was telling you about that needed to be in the room with me when I had phone calls. Also, I had to send every email to be proofed by him before it could be sent. It didn't matter if it was the most beautifully written email, he would correct something, like one thing, two things. And it really just eats away at your confidence and your abilities. It's not good for your mental health because here's what happens is that environment that you're a part of, that toxic workplace, doesn't just stay there. It doesn't just you walk in a door and you go into this office and you're like, this place sucks. And then you get out of the parking lot and you're, happy and all. It follows you. It bleeds into your personal relationships, your how you raise your children, how you spend time with anyone in every relationship, friendships. And that's what's really dangerous about it. It's almost like black tar. My thing is we've identified this. And I think it's great that we've identified it, but I want to share the other side. I want to share the other side for a couple of reasons. One is I want to show you, just like I was talking about earlier, my dream document. If you don't know what a healthy environment looks like at work, I want to share it with you because sometimes when we hear something, now we have something to aspire to and to actually know that it exists. I don't have anywhere on here free coffee or, a ping pong table, by the way. So just FYI, it's nothing like that. It's actually so much simpler than that and cheaper. But I feel like I want to share it for that reason. And if you are listening to this and you are a leader, and I just read a list that maybe terrified you because you see yourself on it, where do you think this list came from? Me. I used to be this boss. I used to be the list that I just read. It pains me to say that, but I became the boss that I'm about to tell you about. And I created the environment that I'm about to tell you about. So this acronym is so much better. It's not as powerful as most people would think because it does great things. This word that I'm about to give you, it skyrockets productivity. Your attention to detail as a team just blows up. Everyone is just in a better place. Creativity goes through the roof. Innovation, you will be cutting edge. And the word I am going to give you is stable. And I feel like this is one of the most underrepresented words. We don't use it enough. We're big about these flashy words. The ones I used previous to me giving you this very simple word. The reason why stability and the word stable are so important is because, well, if you're sitting in a building right now, there's a foundation, and that foundation is creating stability for where you are and what you're doing. And you're not thinking about that foundation. Why? Because it's doing its job. You feel safe, you feel secure. And when we as people and employees feel safe and secure, we can let go and our shoulders fall and our stomach untightens and our brains let go. When you're in fight or flight, which if you're a mean boss, you're putting your employees in fight or flight, it shuts down the logical part of your brain. And so most likely your team is making bad choices because they're in fight or flight. The logical part of their brain is not fully functioning. If you have a stable team where they're relaxed, they are going to be so much more creative. They're going to feel freer to share things with you that will challenge you and grow you as a leader. So it's really, really great. So let's get into what stable stands for. So stable, the first one is seen. And this one to me is so important. I'm going to share a story. This is made up, but I'm pretty sure we've all felt this. You walk into work and your boss is like, you know what? I really want to have a special moment with you. I want to really know what's going on with you. And, tell me what I could do to support you at work. And you're like, it would be great. It would be really awesome if the light over my desk, it's been flickering for a week. Is there any way that we could get that fixed? I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'd really love to get that fixed. Oh my gosh, you mean so much to me. Of course, I am right on that. 2 months later, the light is still flickering over your desk. If you are not seeing your people, you're not following through. If somebody says to you that simple thing, call and get it fixed. The coffee in the break room is terrible. Get it fixed. I mean, there are so many small things, and this seems so tiny, but when you share something, when an employee shares something and you go and you help, it also could be as simple as, hey, I'm trying to work with this client and it's been really hard. Is there a way that you could join the call and help me? Or is there a way you could send an email? Yes, do it. Be there for them. When you help an employee feel seen, they feel protected, they feel loved, they feel supported. And like I said, I made up the story about the light, but those simple things that build stability. It reminds me of, if you happen to have great parents and you were a kid and something happened and you're like, oh, I gotta go tell dad. Oh, I gotta go tell mom, right? That's kind of what you are as a leader, is that parent figure of bringing that stability and that care and that support and really seeing your employees and not looking past them. So the next one is trust. This is not that you are trusting your employees, which by the way, you should. It's trusting them to do great work. So I'm not saying that I trust my employees, they're not kleptos or something. I mean, I trust that I hired this person and they're doing my data analytics and they're going to do amazing work. And I don't need to do it faster than them. I don't need to do it for them. I just need to give them space to do it and support them. Now, how do we support them? One is like, hey, how can I help you? I think that's what we always think of. But what about the little invisible things like providing standard operating procedures, providing some sort of guidance? Maybe it's a Loom video that you're creating and saying, this is what great work looks like. Allowing them to fail, learn, and grow. Allowing them to do a task, telling them how awesome it is, and then how we're going to fix it, how we're going to iterate. That to me is really key. I think if we don't allow people to do that and have that kinesthetic learning opportunity, they're never going to learn. And then they're always going to be timid to share those new ideas and try new things. Trust also comes in another way. It's doing what you say and following the rules that you expect of others. If in your business you care deeply that people show up on time, well, you better show up on time. You better be like 5 minutes early. If you expect everyone to have certain things done by a certain time, you better do the same. You better treat your employees the same. If you don't do that, then that starts to eat away at trust because they're like, well, yeah, she wants me to do this, but she never does it for me. That's just not building trust on your team and also not creating an environment that supports their best work, which actually leads to ability. So this goes a little bit back to what we were just saying, but letting them be the expert. So letting your team members be the expert in the room, running the project, being in their zone of genius, and then tell them how their work is moving the needle. For ability, what I want you to do is really breathe into them how their ability is changing the game. So what a lot of leaders do is they're like, oh my gosh, you are amazing. You're so great. That is super vague. What does that mean? Like, I am a person is great. I'm great. My hair is great. I look great. I don't know. Instead, we need to be more specific. Aaron, your report that you put together for the client, that slide that you did on the ROI was exceptional. I loved how you put that together. I could tell the detail and the time that was spent there. Wow, that's a compliment. That is something that people remember. And I don't know about you, but when I hear something like that, I want to do it again. And instead, back to the nitpickers, right? If we're going to be mean, that's not good enough. That's not right. I don't like that. Well, that's really vague. What do you not like about it? And by the way, when we build trust on an organization, we're showing them exactly what success looks like. As a person in an organization, you should have the ability to say to your boss, this is a great project. I'm super excited to be a part of it. Can you show me what you are looking for here? I just want to make sure that I understand exactly what you're needing. They say something, I don't know, let's say they're like, we just want like a jazzy report. You could say, okay, a jazzy report. I love that. A jazzy report. Repeat their words, repeat their words. Share with me what a jazzy report means to you. The reason I want you to repeat this is you're using their words. And when you mirror language of other people, it actually sparks the part of our brains, the limbic system, that helps us feel sameness and safety. And so we're like, oh, sameness, you get me. Okay. And so it shows that you're listening. And then that person's going to give you more information. So if you are a leader, you can do this with your team. If you are a person that's on a team, you can ask your manager these types of questions. Repeat what they say. And then they know you're listening and they feel more inclined to actually help you. But then another thing that I think is really important, we talk about gossip in the workplace, right? It's never a good thing. Gossip in life is never good, or is it? I actually believe that there is something that we don't do enough of that I am a huge fan of, and it's called positive gossip. Positive, productive gossip. Why is it positive and productive? Because I would not normally put these words together. It's positive and productive because I'm telling other people about the great work that other people are doing. So if I was like, oh, Desiree, she's just nailing it. She came to the meeting last Friday prepared with some of the best questions for our client group, our product group that I'd ever heard. If everybody came that prepared to meetings, this company would be on fire. And I'm telling this to Pam, right? Well, what's Pam going to do? She's going to go tell Desiree because this is like the greatest thing she's ever heard, right? Oh my God, your boss was in the kitchen today talking about how great you were. Wait, what? She was? What did she say? Oh my gosh, I can't believe she was saying all those things. Saying something to your face is special. Saying something like that to others is exceptional. spreading positive gossip is one of the greatest things you could ever do. I feel like that's incredibly important. I'm going to do that here right now. I have Erin on my team. She actually did put the ROI report together last week for one of my clients, and it did blow my mind. I try in every podcast I talk to brag about my team, so that one day they will find this and be like, oh, she really is doing this. She's saying all these things. So Erin, you rock.
I love that. Go,
Because
Erin.
yeah, exactly. She's a queen at data analytics. So the next one is boundaries. This one is kind of hard to swallow. When I was putting this together, one of my employees was adamant to say, well, this is something that you need to honor more. And this was several years ago. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be teaching this to people. So I sat on my hands and very, very uncomfortably was like, why is that? What do you, tell me more. How do I not do this? She said, I don't want to work more hours. And you keep pushing more hours on me. And I was like, she was an hourly employee. And I saw a ton of promise in her. And I assumed, again, going back to something we should not be doing, that somebody that's a rock star wants more hours. But I never actually asked her. So that is boundaries. Boundaries are, I see great work from you, Jim. Tell me what you want in your career, because the world is your oyster. Do you want to stay where you are, working the hours that you're working, or would you like to take on more hours and a few more challenges? There's no wrong answer. I just want to make sure that you're happy and you're at the place that makes the most sense for you. Oh my gosh, that's a really easy conversation to have with somebody. That's amazing, right? You've given them great choices. There are different seasons in our life for wanting to skyrocket our career. I know when I was a new mom, that was not a time to land a promotion. That was a time to just hold on for dear life and figure things out as I went. I have to say that, at the place that I am now with older children, I am into the new challenges. But just remember that every employee that you have, every team member that you encounter is not wanting to grow and advance at the same level that you are. And so boundaries can be as simple as, what does work-life balance look like for you? Do you want to travel? Do you not? Do you want to come in 3 days a week to the office and have 2 days work from home? What does it look like? What does it look like for you? And then also clearly communicating how long something should take. So, for instance, if I was very vague on a task, I don't know as an employee, if I said, here's a good one. Why don't we increase our social media engagement in the next month? Okay. What does that mean? Are we looking at followers? Are we looking at leads? Are we looking like what do we mean? And then in the next month, what are we doing? Like, is that our cutoff? Like, you want to see that it has grown a certain amount in the next 30 days? Are you wanting to start seeing that shift happen by next week? Like, I just don't know. That's so vague. So when you honor boundaries of people, it's also boundaries of ideas and how long tasks should take. So for instance, I would like for you to put together a plan, and I want you to spend no more than 2 hours on the plan, just softly looking over our social channels and thinking about what we could do in the next month to potentially increase. Again, these are just ideas. Just spend a couple hours on it, come back to me, and then let's go from there. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden, it's not high stakes. I'm not having to put together something that I don't even really know what they want. They're looking for ideas. They're looking for me to look at this and just think through it so that we can have a brainstorming session together on it. Done. Because I've been clear about what it is I'm looking for, that person feels more empowered to do a good job and to be creative within the boundaries that I've given them. And then, of course, honor the time that people have. So my team is hourly. So I make sure on a weekly basis that the hours that I need, I put out a weekly goals email it's not an email, actually, it's a Slack channel at this point, but of what I would like to accomplish that week. I put my goals in there, and then I have different things for each team member. Here's the thing about this list, though. Anyone on my team can say no. And the answer is not no, full sentence, done. It's not this week. One of my kids is home with pneumonia. This literally happened 2 weeks ago with one of my team members. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, let's put this off for 2 weeks, right? This does not need to be done this week. Awesome. 2 weeks. I have a Halloween thing at my kids' school. You know that big project I was going to have you do? Well, let's not do that this week, because not only do you have the thing on Thursday, but then we have Halloween, and then none of us feel really great the next day. So we're not going to do our best work. So let's just shove that out until the following week. Awesome. So that's what I mean by no. It's good to say no or question things. Exactly what are you looking for here? As much as I just told you about this boundaries and like being clear, sometimes I'm still not. But I have given my team space to feel comfortable in saying, I don't know what you're asking here. Can you give me an example? Can you show me? Yes, ask all the questions. I'm a huge fan of asking questions. I think people that ask questions are brave and some of the smartest people, because typically the questions they have, everyone else has as well. So the next one is love. And yes, we're still talking about work, and we're talking about creating a stable environment. And I just threw the L word at us. The reason this is important is because everyone needs to feel like they matter. What makes me feel like I matter is different from maybe what makes you feel like you matter. Many years ago, there was a book called The Five Love Languages, and how each of us have different love languages that we speak in and that we resonate with more. I believe this is also true at work. Now, I will tell you that I think there are 4 work love languages, because I don't believe physical touch is really something we should talk about in the workplace. So we're just going to leave that one out. In your marriages, whatever, friendships, I'm a hugger too. Don't really recommend it at work. Some people aren't into that. So I would rather you focus on the other love languages. And what I do, by the way, to figure out my team's love language, anytime somebody comes on board my team, I have them fill out a document that's like their, favorite things that they like to eat, favorite hobbies. And then I also ask them, do you like, and I'll mention, do you like when somebody helps you with a project? Or do you like more when a little gift card is put on your desk of like your favorite coffee shop? Or do you like having team outings? Or are you somebody who loves handwritten notes and emails and, those types of things? And they can actually rank these, by the way. They don't have to just pick one. And it's really helpful to know this. I had somebody on my team a few years ago who was not words of affirmation at all, to the point that if I said anything super kind to her, she was like, "Ugh," like it's just dead to her. It was so off-putting. And I understand that. I'm not really a gifts person. So if we were friends and every, few months you were sending me lavish gifts, I would start to feel guilty, because I would think about all the things that you could be doing with that money when I'm not using these things. So I don't want you to think that not speaking in somebody's love language is like this terrible thing, but it can come off that way. And so that's why it's really important. In this specific case, this girl was very, very acts of service driven. And I love that, because I love acts of service too. And so what did I do? I showed up for her in a million different ways. Oh gosh, I can think of so many different projects that I helped her work on, let her lead, and then supported her while she was doing those things. Also, just little things. She lives nearby, so little things like when she had her daughter and bringing dinner over one night for her and her family, just these things that it goes a long way. And this woman in particular just absolutely loved that. She was like, the kindness that you show is just so extraordinary. And then she was like, don't say anything back to me. So it's just, everybody's different. Some people want quality time. I have an employee that really loves a weekly standing one-on-one. They really want to have that time with me. And this person is remote. So we have a standing Zoom call. It's about an hour. Sometimes it'll go an hour and a half, because we're working on things and bouncing ideas off. It's awesome. It's what she needs. I have 2 other employees that really don't ever want meetings, and they do amazing work, and we talk through Slack. So is it wrong that they do that? Not at all. It's their love language. One of them loves gifts. So I'm chronically sending her like Starbucks gift cards because she's just a rock star. I just feel like when we speak in the language of love that our team also resonates with, then that really goes a long way. Because when you see people for who they are, like we were talking about before, you believe in their ability, you give those boundaries, you share love in a way that's in their dialect, everything becomes more enjoyable. And the final one is enjoyment. Have fun at work. Have fun. It's okay. Fun is a good word. So when I was a kid, I got to tell this really silly story for a minute. When I was a kid, my brother made me cry when I was like 3 years old. And this is what he said to me. He was like, I said something like, Mom is so unfun. And my brother said, and you're a girl and you're going to be a mom someday. So that makes you unfun too. And I was so upset. I was like, I am never going to be unfun. Now I have 2 children, and there are days that I am not fun. Nobody seems to care about bathing, and they're older too. Should not be a problem. But I hear from other mothers that this is just a problem in general. So then I'm not fun. Brushing teeth, always a surprise in my house. No, we have to do that again. Yes, you have to do it again. That is unfun. I'm okay with that unfun, right? But what I'm not okay with is not having, some silly time. I feel like we can have fun. We can have fun inside jokes. I just started a pebbling channel on my Slack channel. So I don't know if you know what pebbling is. It's where you send memes and funny like reels and stuff. You do it to your friends. We do it all the time, right? We send it, oh my gosh, this made me think of you, right? Well, that's actually called pebbling. It's an actual term. And I thought, well, why wouldn't I do this with my coworkers? And so we have a pebbling channel and we send each other silly, ridiculous reels, stories, funny things, anything that we can think of. It's actually the most fun that we have, just making fun of all the things together. And why not? Because then you have inside jokes. I will also tell you that I always tell them that I am the dumbest employee at this company. I'm going to come in like a bull in a china shop with these dumb ideas that you guys are going to help me flesh out. We're going to polish the turd that I am going to create. We're going to make it this beautiful thing. I say that so that I'll level set the playing field, because typically I come in with an idea that's not so great. And then because I have given them the freedom and shared with them their abilities and the boundaries, they're willing to play back. And we come up with some of the most extraordinary things. I am obsessed with the word extraordinary, because if you write it down, almost feels like you're spelling it wrong. That is actually extra and the word ordinary, and you put them together, there's no space, and that is the word extraordinary. But if you look at everything that we've just talked about, a stable thing, it's really just a lot of extraordinary things that make people feel absolutely fantastic. And when people feel fantastic, they do fantastic work. So do more with the extraordinary people that you have on your team. And by the way, if you are somebody that's in a toxic environment, these places exist. These environments exist. I promise you. And now that you know what it is, it will show up for you.
This is fantastic, all of this information. So I love these acronyms because it helps to simply break it down for people. So mean, so people can accurately identify, oh wait, I am in a toxic environment. That's why I'm having these issues. That's why I'm burned out. That's why I'm feeling increased anxiety, depressive symptoms, right? And then so this stability, this stable,
Mhm.
it's really laying the groundwork for the foundation of emotional safety, which is
Yes.
so important for us in all aspects of our lives, relationships, friendships, romantic, family, but also our jobs.
I
Yeah.
find it fascinating that it's like we're supposed to act one way at work and another way at home. And I just don't believe that. I believe we are people that should have the freedom to live and love and act and be creative, wonderful, fun people everywhere we go. Our magic falls out of us wherever we go. And I just think that's amazing. So why not have that at work?
Yeah, and I think it's really easy for people to say. I remember because this stuck out to me so much years ago when I was at a great job. I loved it. I loved my team. My supervisor was incredible. We're still in touch to this day, and this was many years ago. Just phenomenal. We were overtaken by another company and it just went downhill so quick. So many people, like within the first year, 30 people had resigned. It was horrific. It went toxic super quick and it was so great. So it was just very sad. But I remember one of my coworkers saying, it's just a job. It's just a job. And I think it's so easy for people to minimize work in that way when really we're there at least 8 hours a day. We're with these people, our colleagues, our coworkers. We're with them more than sometimes more than our own families. So I do not believe it's just a job. It's a big part of our lives. And when that is not going well, when it's toxic, when it's sometimes abusive, we're having horrible bosses, that impacts us so much. So I don't believe in the phrase, it's just a job, because it's so much, it's a big part of your life. You spend so much time there and so much time with these people that some people really see their coworkers more than their own loved ones.
I couldn't agree more. And another thing is we as human beings, we need purpose. We need something outside of ourselves. And it's fascinating to me. I am just like you. I'm fascinated when people say it's just work because I'm like, right, it is. But that work is actually connecting who I am with the world and my abilities and helping and moving things forward. If you think about it, everything we do, everything we consume, I mean, we're on Zoom right now, and Zoom is a company. And if they felt like it was just work, what if they weren't there in 2020 when all of us needed them so much? I just feel like we all have a purpose inside of us, each and every one of us. And that if a job feels like just work, maybe it's just a little stepping stone for you to get to that next place that you feel like you're creating meaning, because we all should feel like we're creating meaning at work.
I love that. Emily, this has been so amazing, so helpful. I think this is really going to help a lot of people. I would love if you could share where everyone can find you, and then if you're up for a few rapid fire questions.
Awesome. Yes. So you can find me at Emily Hawkins, the number four, the letter U.com. Emily Hawkins was taken. I love the number four. And Emily Hawkins four seemed weird. So so I'm Emily Hawkins, the number four, the letter U.com. On that page, you can find out more about what I do, how we can potentially work together. And then I have a few different little assessments. If you never want to work with me and you just enjoy exploring things about yourself, please feel free to take these free assessments. There's one on your type of leadership style, and that one's really interesting. The pitfalls and strengths and how to apply them where you are now. And then the other one is related to, if you're a business owner, especially what you might want to fix in your business first and why, and exactly how to do it with 3 small tweaks. So that way I'm taking all of that worry and that giant to-do list you have, and I'm just boiling it down to 3 small things that you can do to keep more money in your business and create more time, which is great.
Oh, great. And I will have all of those links in the show notes. So everyone definitely go check out Emily again, whether you're an employee or a leader in a leadership position. Sounds very, very helpful. So, Emily, are you ready for a few rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
All right. First question. What is your go-to self-care practice?
Oh my goodness. Every single morning, without fail, I get up and I make myself drink 12 ounces of water. It sounds strange. So great. Absolutely great. It actually makes my first cup of coffee taste better. And then I sit down and I journal for 10 minutes. I don't do too much journaling, just 10 minutes. I meditate and then I journal again, which sounds really strange, but I got some cobwebs in my head at first. Then, when I've cleared my head, some even greater, more amazing thoughts come in. That practice has been something I've done for the past 2 years. It has changed my life.
Oh, I love that. That sounds like an amazing morning routine. Oh, fantastic. Number two, you mentioned that you read 26 books. Does any one stick out to you? Was any single one really helpful?
Oh, wow. Well, like you said, there were so many that were amazing. I would say that, I believe it was called The Wisdom of Oz. That was one of my most absolute favorite books. And I got it because I love The Wizard of Oz. Y'all, it has nothing to do with it. So I read it for all the wrong reasons. But it helped me level set that it was okay to feel frustrated, that it's okay to have that feeling, but you really just need to have it for a few minutes and then move on and like start solving the problem. And so that book it really did start to shift my mindset on, oh, these bad feelings are okay. You just don't live here. You need to fully feel them and then move through and actually solve things in your life.
Oh, that sounds great. I'll link that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Are you currently listening to a podcast or do you have one that you recommend?
I am always a huge fan of Mel Robbins. I think that Mel Robbins is just extraordinary. I like her because she's real. And when I say that, I mean she brings her own stuff to the show about how she's ADHD, she's dyslexic, she's, raising children maybe the right, wrong way, who knows. And both my children are dyslexic. And I have no idea. I feel like raising children is like a science experiment. And then she has these amazing guests that really bring more thoughts to the conversation. I love listening to them like on a walk or something like that. That's something that I do not miss. I'll let several of the episodes come in and then go for a long walk and listen to a few of them because they're just amazing.
Oh, awesome. Great. Emily, thank you so much. This was such a fantastic conversation. And I think there's just so much value. I know so many people are going to get so much out of this, and it's going to be really helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.